So 2023 is pretty much over, and I wanted to make a video talking about the changes that have happened in the real estate market in 2023 and kind of like a little bit of an outlook looking forward in 2024, what we can maybe expect. 2023 was a pretty interesting year for real estate. There was a lot of people who thought these high interest rates were going to force people out of their homes and it was going to drive prices down. There was going to be a flood of houses. There was a lot of talk about that, about a year ago. And in reality, you found that, actually it's going to take a long time for the interest rates to kind of roll through. A lot of homeowners actually, they have extra cash and they go, okay, well, instead of spending on vacation or renovation, I'm going to take this money and put it back into my house so we don't have to move, right? I think a lot of people were expecting the house prices to fall and a lot of places to come on the market, but in reality, homeowners that's not what we're seeing. And I think it would happen over time, which I've said before, like it takes a long time for this kind of thing to work its way through the market. And you don't see, it's not like a policy change happens and all of a sudden all these places flood on the market like people think. Things take time. And, as we move into the new year, there's a lot of talk about lower interest rates. It definitely looks like interest rates are lowering. Will that take off the pressure from these homeowners? I mean, I'm sure it will help people out. I'm sure there's still going to be people that are forced out of their places and going to have to sell. Probably not to the extent that people have been saying or were saying before. And maybe now people are kind of coming to terms with that, because I've noticed that a lot of buyers, like last year when you had the interest rates raised like they did, you had a lot of people that were like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit back and wait and see what happens because there's a lot of uncertainty happening here. Transactions, year over year in 2023, significantly less than other years. And I think it was expected, right? Like it was interest rates rise, which forces people to stay in their houses. So that's another thing. Typically people who already own a place, and let's say you have a growing family, you want to move up because that's typically what you'll do. You've made some equity in your house, hopefully, and maybe you got a better paying job too, and you take that equity and you go to the bank and you say, okay, well, what can I afford? And they go, well, because of the interest rates, you'll be lucky if you can afford your renewal on your current place. So it basically forced people to stay in their house, and I think that that definitely was a contributing factor to the lack of sales this year. People were stuck in their houses because they couldn't move up. People are coming to terms with this new market, and it is starting to settle down. Like if you look at the sales to active ratio, which kind of gives you a good glimpse and in terms of like what's happening, if it's a seller's market or if it's a buyer's market, it's coming down into an even market, which is anywhere between 0.12 and 0.20, right? So you can see it's trending towards an even market, which is what you want, right? Like you don't want it to be a seller's market or a buyer's market. You want it to be like an even playing field. In the springtime, we always see a surge, right? I'm sure this year is going to be the same, especially with the lower interest rates. I've had a lot of people kind of come out the woodwork and start to chatter. Just like the overall sentiment is like people are okay with what's happening. Whereas last year it was like total uncertainty, and I felt like that wasn't the case. It's probably going to drive prices up realistically, and we're probably going to see more sales happen this year on a year-over-year basis. I'd be shocked if there was less sales than this past year. The other thing I want to talk about was so obviously we have a housing crisis, right? And what are the main contributing factors to that? Well, I mean, we have immigration, which is a huge one. Okay, well, if you welcome in 1.3 million people a year, where are they all going to live? And they go, well, you're going to build more houses. And it's like, well, if you look at the numbers, the amount of houses that we're actually building isn't anywhere near the amount that we need for all these people to come in. So, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, okay, well, if you bring in all these people and they have nowhere to live, it's going to drive the prices up. And it's not just for home ownership, but for renting too, right? Just the fact of the matter is, it's just not really possible to build enough places in time to allow all these people to come in and for everyone to be happy. I think the government does kind of see that now, and hopefully in the future we'll see some changes. The other thing was the short-term rental restrictions. So if you didn't know, BC now they're saying basically if it's not your personal property, you can't Airbnb or VRBO out your place. It has to be somewhere where you live, and if you have an investment property somewhere else, it's no longer going to be rentable unless it's in a resort town or in a town with a population less than 5,000. People were angry at investors and saying that, oh, they're taking up places half the time they're empty, and they should be on the rental market, the long-term rental market, and they should be sold to a family or someone who lives there full time. It's a piece of the puzzle, right? Is it going to fix the pricing problem? No. Is it going to affect tourism? Probably, not in a good way. So we'll see what that does long term. The other massive change that they did was single family home lots. They've said, okay, well, you can make any single family home lot you can put 3 units on there. So you can have a basement suite and you can have 3 dwellings on your lot. This is Junie. She was waking up from her nap. So you can have up to 6 units, depending on how close you are to transit and how big your lot is. I think if it's over 3,000 square foot lot, then you can have up to four units. And if you're close to transit, then you can have up to 6 units. It's a pretty drastic change. So I think a lot of people are uncertain about how this is actually going to look in the next coming years. At the end of the day, it's going to add more housing, right? And then another change that they did is kind of similar, is with rezoning. Any place that's near a SkyTrain or a bus exchange, you're going to have to build these large towers now at a minimum of a certain amount of stories, right? So I think it's 15 off the top of my head, and for a SkyTrain, 12 for a bus exchange. And so you're going to have all these towers coming up over time around the SkyTrain stations and the bus exchanges, which the idea is that, you got higher density. So if at any point in this video, you're confused, or there's a point that I've kind of gone over and you want to know more, you can book a chat with me and Junie. Follow the link in the description. You can book a 30-minute chat. There's a lot going on right now. And I feel like on my day-to-day conversations with people, I'll mention some things and people have no idea what's going on. Because a lot of times what happens is, you have all of a sudden the market changes and you have all these people and they go, well, I want to buy this place. You need to help me out. And I go, okay, well, are you pre-approved? Have you talked to a mortgage? And they go, oh no, I haven't talked to a mortgage broker yet. I'm like, well, you're already 2 steps behind the other person who also wants to buy the place, right? So it's it doesn't hurt to talk to people and get yourself set up. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So I think it's always a good idea to be informed on what's going on, even if you're not planning on doing anything in the immediate future, because stuff changes pretty quickly, right? So anyways, I'm happy to chat further about any of that. If you have questions, like I said, just book a chat with me in the link below, or just shoot me a text message.